Alrighty, let's talk about trees, tree lines, bushes, flowers, and theoretically even grass. Yeah, so we're going to start with the most simple part, which is the trees. Then we combine them with bushes. I'm gonna talk about the implementation of 3D trees. Also, I do not like them. I don't think that they are good enough in AC1 to, get rid of the 2D trees. At least not for the performance that it costs. And also how to do tree lines for the forest. So let's start with the trees. So here's a single tree. And that's how the tree looks. It's a white tree. Why is it called white tree? From the top, it's somewhat of a Y. There are also X trees that look like X from the top view. And I don't know, maybe a star tree. The important part is if I enable the face orientation. Interesting. No idea what I did here. Can I do this with all of them? And yeah, good to know. Oh no, this one is correct. Okay, so if I select one of these, you can see the facing. Doesn't matter which one comes first, the red or the blue one. Just matters that you have a red one facing into a red one facing, or a blue one needs to face in this direction, this direction, this direction, this direction, here and here, so it's visible from all sides. Because Assetto Corsa does not support two-sided materials, which means we do have a white tree with faces beneath them, and you can see there is space between them. So, and you also have this line in the middle, with this loop cut Assetto Corsa does calculate the bottom side to be darker. So it's a gradient. Also correspondence with the origin. But that's all the theory we are going to use right now. Let's get started making our own tree. We'll actually go to a new file. But first we need a tree model. The biggest or the most used platform to find trees is probably Mehr.dk, which is just a big catalog of trees in autumn, spring, winter, summer, with a lot of different species. If yours is in there, nice. If not, oh, come on. Apparently, it does not like me. I click on anything. Apparently not. Let's pick a simple train. A simple tree. Click on it to download it and save it anywhere. I usually, let's use paint.net. I use a 4K texture and place the trees something like this, the next one right here, and so on. So I have one texture with all my trees, plants, bushes, and what else there is. If you want to create your own trees, you can do this with Blender, or you can download them and render it yourself. For example, CG Trader. Let's search for tree. I will even select the free ones. I'm not even logged in. Yoo-hoo. Okay, once downloaded, let's just append it. Why? Now here we have the tree, hopefully with all the materials. Yes, now we can decide. If this still clips, you simply go to your render settings under light paths, bounces, the transparent, and pull it up. Also change the film to transparent. And I will probably choose an HDRI, environment texture, open it, and pick one that is outside. Change this to shader, world, Ctrl plus T, and we can rotate it. Now the sun is in front, and that's good. Then we add a camera. Now we need to correct settings for it. So firstly, we can change this to orthographic. Zoom out and change the render resolution to a vertical one because this tree is vertical. And then just change it to fit the tree. And then click on render. My settings are cycles, GPU, optics denoiser because I have an NVIDIA graphics card, 150 max samples and a noise threshold of 0.01. And light paths all to 4 and transparent in that case to 64. Rest is default and I use AGX. Just click on render. It's a bit too blurry for me, so let's change the resolution times 2. And save the image. There's a tree somewhere. Let's call this tree A. And I need a break. So now we do have 2 trees. And we are ready to use. Also good to get variation, you could also just rotate this by 90 degrees and it looks like a different tree. Just render it out again. And we save this as well as tree B. Now, let's delete it. Okay. Let's create the tree itself. It's quite simple actually. Let's add a plane. Rotate it by 90 degrees around X or Y axis so it stands up. I put it above. And then we adjust the size of it. So usually a tree is around 24 meters tall and maybe 10 meters wide. And we can add our tree in here. Yeah. And now just add the texture in here with Control plus T, open it. Onto the preview. And we need to see if we can reset it. Control A, rotation and scale. And now unwrap maybe. No. So let's just add a new window in here. UV editor. And let's add a loop cut in the middle. And so basically right click, subdivide. And center it. Well, center the stem. Stretch it a bit, and now we need to sorry. Let's widen this one a little bit. Or maybe do 13 meters. And reset it again. Just so it fits. Make sure to leave a few pixels space on top. And then also connect the alpha with the alpha so we have our tree. Now we need to make this a Y model. Press point to change this to 3D cursor or individual origin. Select the right side, go to top view, the 60 degrees. Perfect. Now we duplicate this onto top view and simply move it slightly to the right and rotate it by 120 degrees. Also to the top, 120 degrees. Should be from here. Move them all the way to here. Duplicate this one again and 120 degrees. Now you have your Y tree. looks a bit weird in Blender in here. First, you can see it overlapping because Blender supports two-faced materials. Go to the material preview, settings. Oh, viewport display, I think. No, it's settings. Where is it? They changed this. Oh, backface culling. It was different. So now you have your white tree. What backface culling is, it basically disables the back side. So the red side will always be the back side, and from the back you cannot see the texture. And it's basically the same thing as AC does. Now this is our tree. And then we need to name them. Ks underscore tree underscore name. A1. So we have a second one. I will simply duplicate this. And let's add them all in here. Simply because it's much more convenient. Please. Let's add these as layers. On. And 2. Let's save this as a DDS and call this trees vegetation ETX5. Now let's add this. Where did I save it? Not in there. All right. Now this looks terrible again. So let's take this part, all of it. Make sure everything is selected. Also in here. And scale it. So that it fits. Now we have the same tree. If we duplicate this because it's the same size, just move this along. And now we have a similar tree, but it's not completely the same. Now for the next one, we need to create them again. So quite simply, new plane, 90 degrees. I will put this up. This one is a bigger tree. Make them 50 wide and 20 tall. Maybe even 20 to 20 meters. Apply rotation and scale. And apply the same material, the trees. Subdivide it. Hide the other juice. And scale it with this tree. A little bit smaller. Something like this. Now we do the same thing as before. Make sure the pivot point is to 3D cursor. Go to top view, 60 degrees. Move it to the right, a little bit down. Duplicate 120 degrees. Duplicate 120 degrees. Zack, boom, done. Now rename this A1, A2, KS3, KS3. And B1, because it's a different type of tree. If my mind is correct, KS_3 is the correct way. Now we just need to distribute them. Let's also create the cheapest bushes you will ever see. Either you search for a texture, create them yourself, or use Plant Factory, or what's it called? Treelines, but I believe, and I use usually the Plant Factory by Eon or Bentley now. Just decent software. They look really good, and you have the control over it. You can get variations really fast. Currently do not have it installed, so no video in that. But just download it, click around, and you will find it out. If not, go tell me, and I will do a little tutorial about this as well. And you can also create, what's it called? Not just trees, bushes, but also plants. Yeah, Plant Factory. Obviously, you cannot just create plants, but also trees, grass, and. Also, always search in here for stuff like bush. Maybe you find some for free. One looks quite decent. These look actually really reusable. And you can just render them like we did with the tree. Just make sure the license is the correct one. So you are allowed to use it and maybe even sell it, depending on what you want to achieve. So for the bush, I will duplicate the tree and scale it along its origin. Maybe 4 meters 50, apply rotation and scale. And now let's scale all of them. Let's use this one as a bush. So bush 1. Was it? I believe the naming is wrong. 1 second. Strongly believe the naming is wrong. I think it's KS3 group and then the name. Oh, come on. Sorry. Yeah, KS3 group. Let's rename them correctly. Let's select all of them. Control F2. Find underscore tree and replace it with tree underscore group underscore. Oh, not underscore. Find and replace. We search for underscore tree and replace it with tree underscore group. Okay, tree group. Perfect. Now right click on the collection, mark as asset. Select save, Control S, and save it on your asset folder. I call this trees AC. Also this one, trees AC. Save it, and let's open up our file. Now we do not have textures in here, which is worrisome. But that's alright. We are going to make the terrain textures either on Friday or Monday. Not 100% sure. So what we want, let's pull this one up and select asset browser. And then there is this collection with trees. We'll just put them in the center. And put this right there. Nope, not like this. Unlink. No, I want to unlink it, but I want to keep it. Make instances real. That's what I want. I can delete this one. And I want to get rid of the .001, so Control F2. .001, replace with nothing. Did not do it. But they're not in here, right? Oh, come on. Okay. I did just rename them, so they do not have the 001 thing in there. Don't know why. Don't care. Now we need to have 3 different groups because we have 3 different type of trees. And what I do is my version, and then I'm going to show you a little bit more of a refined version. I just use mine for pure speed, and I like it that way actually. So I go to the geometry node tab, editor in here, and select the edges where trees should be. So I will duplicate this, press P, separate, then I will select this and move this to a new collection, trees. Also these into a new collection, under trees, new collection, trees, base, which will be these 2, and new one, trees B, and one for the bushes. And put the bush in here. Now we have our ground, and we simply need a new geometry group. What we need in here is simply distribute points on faces. So we have our mesh and a random selection, which will be way too many in here. So let's change this from random to Poisson disk, because you can have a minimum distance between each other. So there need to be, in that case, 2 meters between each tree. And then you can play with the density and the density factor and also the seed. Now we need to instances on points to tell the game that we want something on there. And as for the instance, we want a collection in here. The base is what we are going to use. Just drag and drop it in here. And connect this socket right there. Click on separate children and reset children. And now looks terrible because it's way too many. So go with a lower density factor. Play with this a bit. Maybe even higher distance min. And now one thing, if we are looking from anywhere, they're facing the same side, are the same scale, and have the same rotation. So what we need to do now is add some randomness into the rotation and the scale. So let's add a separate XYZ. And combine XYZ. Actually, we just need to combine XYZ. Don't know why I want to separate it first. So X and Y for the scale. So if we put this in, we can control this in here. All this one is the same. And we want some variation in at least the size, maybe even a bit on these two. Random. There's a random value. Isn't that great? So we can input a random value for the Z axis and go from point 8 to 1.2. And change the seed in here as well. We duplicate this and connect these two. Maybe go from 0.9 to 0.12 is probably fine. And now we just need to rotate them with basically the same setup. X and Y should be 0. And then we need a random value on the Z-axis, 0 to 360, which should rotate it. Or in that case, we can actually just do 120, should do the same trick, because the sides should be all the same, and we just have 120 degrees that are different. Now there's one thing that we need to do as well. We need the number of, what's it called? The number of our instances. Because right now, if we do not click on pick instance, or is this? Let me quickly check it. What did I? Okay, I just need to click on pick instance. That's fine. Even better. I did overcomplicate things once again. Now there's one thing missing. And that's a shader from the top. Because right now, this is the same thing that AC would do. You have the shader if the sun is coming from the right. Add a sky texture. If we put this one up, this looks decent from the reflection side. But if it's not at this elevation, but straight from the top, you have this as a shadow. So to fix this, we need to either add something to the trees, which is the easiest way. We need a plane that does the same thing. Which is from the top. It's basically this. So we should have just done it before. So let's add a plane. Do not add a plane. Let's add the FBX from before, the tree. Oh. Pend. Download. Object, the tree. Now let's go top view. I will just add an HDRI. Probably the same as before was this one. Then crank up the transparent value and make it transparent. Now it's add a camera, photographic, zoom out. This one can be square. And just center it. Something like this, and then we hit render. Once it's done, okay, now I'm denoising on my CPU. Perfectly, it just takes a bit longer. CPU is fucked anyway. Save as, go to our tree, and we call this tree top. This one is a single image, nothing more you need. You can use this for basically all of the trees. You can close this, and let's add a plane. Something like this, and put it on the top. Add a new material, call this tree top. Add the shader in here. Go plus T, open it. Tree top. Also the alpha channel. Assign it. And do the same for the other trees as well. Tree top, assign, be fine, yes. And let's do the same thing in here. Plane, top view. Scale it up. Put it up. And add the tree top, assign it. Now what this does is this one will only cast a shadow later on. We will not see this, so the visibility will be 0. But it will cast a shadow even if the sun is from above. Which is a great method. Looks stupid right now, but in-game it will look really fine. Now, for bushes. Depending on the tree style, so if I would change this from tree base to tree B, we have these trees, because they're a little bit more common to have a strength, high density, that was the word. Let's also duplicate this. Or before we duplicate this, rename this to tree getter, duplicate it, click on the 2 here, and let's call this bush getter. Collection will be now our bushes. And what I usually like to change is the first row, I put this back. Also the last row, we'll also put this one back. Now you could get density minimum, vector, all of these as an output, so we can play with it right here. In that case, I will go with 0.5 meter, higher density, maybe even a meter. You will see why. And we have something that looks quite dense already. Even cheat a bit more and save us quite a few of bushes. And now if this one if all of this merge center, let's say here should be a forest. Then we would not select all of this as well and add the trees. We would actually use tree lines. Tree lines are quite simply just lines. So if we add a plane, merge, and snap this right here, I can just draw these right there. Second line would be somewhere like here. And one more up here. Depending on how steep it is, it might be, okay, here, that one is, this one is also not on the ground. Now the trees are usually something around 24 meters, so I just push this up and then reset, follow active quads, select this one, reset, follow active quads, and lastly this one, reset, follow active quads. And now we need a tree line texture. Good thing is, we can do this these. So we could simply add a plane, make this 100 meters in size and 5 meters in length, isolate it, and add geometry nodes, the tree scatter with piece B, and apply this rotation and scale. And the same thing, geometry nodes, our bush scatter with the bushes. Which apparently let's subdivide this. I am confusion. Oh, good to know. Let's change the settings. Let's make this a lot more denser. Add more trees. And then duplicate this and use the brush scatter. Same as before, so it's really dense. And then we need to change the shaders for the trees, because I do not want them to be specular at all. Something like this, same for the bushes. Not specular at all. The top, I do not mind. For this, I will actually just use an alpha of 0. So they are casting light, and I will add an HDRI texture again, because it just gives a bit more. Yeah, just gives a bit more to it. Now I need to set up a camera again. Camera, Control 0 plus, Enter. Disable the transparency, or enable the transparency. Change this again to orthographic. Okay, let's firstly zoom out till we have size. I cut these off. And now change the render size that it fits. And then we render this. Edit, render. Let's see. Obviously, can do this again real quick. Would have just let it render, it would be faster. Disable all the other parts. Not rendered. No, he should not be in there. Zuck, zuck. This one also not, and these two. Now, if I render it, it should look like the viewport. You could also do this with 3D trees, but it's just for the background. So I would say this is fine for a tree line. What I also do is make a new file in here with a 4K width and 512 height. And once the denoising is done, it's again on my CPU. That's why it takes so long. Just image, save as, reline. Now we'll put this into Paint.net, GIMP as a new layer. I didn't want to, I just want this. Apparently not, so open it, copy it in here. I want to keep the size. Why? That's quite simple. Let's duplicate this layer. And one of these layers will be flipped horizontally. So we do not have any visible tiling. Now we can save this as a DDS, texture, tree line. Save it, and back in Blender, we can delete these parts, get all the other parts back. All right. And now we can add the tree line in here. And with the tree line, I mean the shader. New tree line, Alt-T, and open the texture. Tree line. So let's see if this fits. It does not. UV editor. And now we need to scale this. Maybe 0.5 along the x-axis, again 0.5, something like this. And now, obviously, if you're in top view, this will not look like much or even like a forest, but from nearly each angle that is not straight from the top, this looks forest. Maybe need to change the hue a bit. So now they're a similar color. So, which means in here, we change this also. The hue slightly up and a bit more right. I will save it and reload it in here. Now they're looking quite good. That's how you do tree lines, and that's how you fake forests. In KS Editor, to export them, we need to do one more step. Click on either the trees or the bushes, press Ctrl+A, make instances real. If you click it, you can see all of them are now singular things. And then I will move this in a new collection in here, in our tree collection called this export. And as you can see, they're all in here, but have wrong naming. We will press Control plus F2. Search for characters. And strip from end, punctuation. Oh, digits, sorry. Stuck, which does not do anything. Wait, that was stupid. You can just, okay, you press Control plus F2, find and replace. You search for the underscore and replace it with, you search for the point, sorry, and replace it with an underscore. Now you have them counted correctly. Now we do the same thing for the bushes. Nope, we are missing one thing. This one will cause glitching. Select all of our trees in the export folder and also right click, select objects on the collection. Then you click on objects, go on relations, make single user and click on object and data. Because they're currently all shared and you want them to have a singular thing because you need singular trees. And now we do the same thing for the bushes. Control plus A, make instances real, move it to the export, Control F2, find and replace, go to object, relations, make single user, object and data. Now we'll also move the tree line to our export, and if we select all the export things, export it, FBX, all this trees, open case editor. Where did I save it? Quick show. Okay. Don't know why, but okay. Object road gen. Oh, okay. File, export, FBX. Select our preset and export. Open FBX, the trees. Voila. Clear. Default. Go to the top. And create the material. In this texture folder, our trees. We select KS tree as our shader. And to get and now just play around with what looks best for you. I mostly do something like this, and most importantly, KS alpha ref should be at 0.5, because without this you are not having a reflection on the ground. And the same thing for our tree line, but one difference, we do select a different shader. We select the KS grass shader. The diffuse will be our tree line. I use the same settings as above. And now we need a variation texture, which is any variation. You can even use a grass texture. We have grass texture in here. No. Can I create some noise in here? Simple 1K. Add some green. But that's way too complicated for me. Let's go in Blender. I will make it in here. I will add a new blend file to create this texture. A simple plane. I want to drink something. Guess not. And let's shader. Let's add a noise texture. Right here, color, ramp. I want a green and different green. Maybe a bit more brownish, a bit less color. Maybe something like this. I will add an image texture. Variants, image. Disable denoise. And bake this. Go to bake. Just a diffuse, click on here, on the map, click on bake, wait a few seconds. And under rendering, I have black texture. Wonderful, why? Do I need to make this white? Now we have it. It's way too bright actually. Let's give this a hue, saturation, and make this darker. And I'll bake it one more time. Let's save it. Save as. Texture. If we now use this, you can see it already shifted the color a bit. From the scale, you can change the scale. And with the gain, you can disable and enable it. Maybe we make this more visible. Yeah, depending on the scale, you can see that the color is shifting in different directions. As you can see, the case you probably need here looks a bit better. We have a little bit of color variation in it. And that's basically how you create trees. 5, 5. Save persistent, and you can export it as a new KN5 file. Now, one thing is the phase orientation of our tree group, of our tree line. To simply fix it, press Shift plus N, duplicate it, Shift Control N, and now you have it double-sided, and you're done. I hope that clears up quite a few things. You can set up flowers. grass if you're not wanting to use CSB grass, which will be a different one. Even though I think I said we are creating grass in here as well, but this one will be a different video. Yeah. With this method, you can create all kind of trees, bushes, and tree lines, which is the key to making trees, forests, dense forests. If you want to create these with, or replace them with 3D trees, do not scatter 3D trees all around. Mix them in. Use the same trees that you're using as a 2D image, also as the 3D tree. And for example, if the tree is maybe back here, let me, so you have, let's make a new one. So you have your 3D, and then your 2D trees, and then afterwards the tree lines. Last one will be our tree line. Tree line. So you should be mixing them together. So you get the details in the front, and afterwards you can just use 2D trees because nobody will ever see them close up. I still believe that the 3D trees are not on par with good 2D trees, simply because if you want to get variants and you want to have like 24 different types of trees, your performance will plummet to the ground. And with 2D trees, it is the same performance as one singular tree type, because you just use the same texture. Yes, so that's it. On Friday, we are going to create a guardrail system. And with the knowledge you have from there, you can also advance the geometry system for our side road objects, which is quite cool. Yeah, and then on Monday, I think we do some texturing for all of this here in like procedurally with texture painting if you need it. See you then. Have fun. Bye-bye.